Welcome to the Frost Sports Podcast. I am your host, Frost Raptor here. I know it's been a while for an episode or podcast. I can give you the general explanation of it, which is just there's been nothing of real concern to me or like anything new. It's the same stuff over and over and over again. But I also like to save it for an episode like this, so maybe you can get larger episodes, maybe a bit more inconsistently. But let us talk about the big New England Patriots win on Thursday Night Football, 21-18 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bill Belichick, I believe, is now 8-3 in his coaching career over one Mike Tomlin, which is just a huge achievement. No, it's not. Mike Tomlin is an overrated coach, and I want to go over that. The title of this episode is probably going to be something along the line of like a divide of two teams, because obviously if you've seen my older podcasts, I dunked on Pittsburgh for when they were 11-0, dominating, looking really good, and essentially just making fun of them and trashing them for the playoff loss. So Pittsburgh, and I made comments of like what they should do and all of that back then, and that was obviously back then. So that was 2020. We are now 3 years in the future of that time, I guess, and it seems to me that the Steelers have not learned their lesson, and kind of have been spinning the wheels of futility. But we're gonna get to them second. What does this win mean for New England? Short term, they still, by all means, technically have the second overall pick of the draft, which I said they could afford to win one more game, and still have a top 5 pick, which, honestly, I would have loved it if it was against Buffalo, New York, or the Steelers. I got it with the Steelers, and I am very happy. So this win is going to be exaggerated as like this is it. I think the Cardinals are probably going to be able to win one more game because I think the Cardinals have a half decent shot at the playoffs. I'm not going to say they will, but I mean, like, give them a shot. I mean, what do they have right now? 3 wins. If they win this week and the Giants lose, I think they got a half decent shot at the postseason. This is a team that really has been showing that they are close to breaking into the playoffs, and they're not as bad as their top 3 pick says they are. Meanwhile, New England Patriots, Bailey Zappi looking phenomenal. I'm going to get hate for this, but I am not even going to talk about stats. I'm not going to bring up numbers. I'm not going to bring up any of that. And you could say that is very unprofessional, because in the end, none of that matters to me. None of it. I watched the Thursday night game, and I didn't need stats. I didn't need numbers. I saw an offense look better, play better, show emotion, show animation, just show that they want to win and they want to play a football game. And that energy let the defense feel like, okay, what we're doing every single game is doing something, and we're finally seeing results. This is the first time in forever New England has had over 20 points in a game. I know there's some concerns about Pittsburgh coming back and Bailey Zappi and that entire offense not showing up. But they ran the clock down, they held on to a lead. That is what they needed to do, and they did a real dang good job. Now, I'm going to say, is Bailey Zappi the answer for the future? Absolutely not. I don't think he has. I think he's getting to be comfortable in the offense, which that's what we need. I said he has a future as the New England Patriots backup quarterback, but I currently don't see. I mean, I want to see him finish the season, see how good he can do, and then maybe look at to possibly getting other weapons. I'm not opposed to the Patriots getting a quarterback, but at the same time, I'd rather have weapons, and then mostly because I kind of want Shedeur Sanders That's my main thing right now is I'd rather have Shadur Sanders next year with Marvin Harrison than get some guy who did not play well. But let's talk about the weapons. Juju Schuster balled out. He talked about like how he liked Zappy or Zappy was handsome or whatever. And it showed me like he actually likes Zappy, like he cares. And you saw the chemistry there. I mean, I think 90 yards passing, 4 receptions. Dude played really well. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's an outlier. But again, he was out last week. I think this was their first week. I could be completely wrong. Their first full game of together. And it was working really well. But that's not all. Hunter Henry with 2 passing TDs and looking good. He needs to be resigned. He's like one of the few bright spots. And he looked really good as a red zone target for this team. He is the best tight end we have had since Gronkowski. And I am standing on my peach box or whatever, saying that he is still the best tight end we've had since Gronkowski. And he needs to be paid accordingly. And what I saw last night, and Tyquan Thornton had like a few flashes, which I just think you need a more creative offense because I don't know if he's that guy or not. I really want to see more sweeps with him or maybe some more trick plays, slants, and just see like what he can do because he is looking really bad. I mean, it's a 2nd-round pick on him, which that's a high-value pick. That does not look good. So I really want to see what this offense can do a little bit more healthier under Zappy. Zappy really showed what his name is, Zappy. Like he was like a shock of like energy into this offense, and that's kind of been the theme with him. And I've noticed this because I noticed this against the Giants game. As soon as he got put in, they got into a drive and scored with Ramondre. I mean, yeah, it was a short term, and there's a bunch of criticisms. Like, I think he does need to play a little bit better. I think he needs to have a little bit more game time. But again, what are we playing for? Like, yes, New England can still make the postseason. I don't think they will. Personally, it would be funny. I've talked about how I would absolutely love it if they made the postseason just as a joke. But, I mean, I don't think they will. I think New England's going to end up with a top 5 pick. And we're going to kind of have to answer a few questions in the offseason. But even I said, I'm kind of okay with Bill Belichick staying one more year, finishing out his deal and kind of going from there. But I want him removed as GM. So that's kind of where I'm standing on this. Zappy I'm going to keep saying Zappy looked like a quality quarterback. Like, Zappy is the first quarterback since Tom Brady to throw 3 passing TDs in the first half. He's been very good. And I know people are going to point to the interception. If you did not watch the game, the interception was bounced out of a receiver's hands and picked off. It was not Zappy's fault, so let's just get that out of the way. Zappy played well. I think he deserves the game ball because, again, he put up the most points. On a little more of a somber note, this is probably it for Mac. I hate to think of it because yes, we failed him. But I'm going to be quite honest. Zappy looked just better. He showed energy. It's like everything was eagerness. And I was like, I don't know why. I am getting Brady vibes from him. And it's like, oh, blah, 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 like, oh, it's too early to tell. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But I'm getting Brady vibes from him. And I didn't get Brady vibes from Mac. I got Jimmy Garoppolo, a little bit of Jimmy G, Bledsoe a little bit, but it was just not like this. Zappy was showing emotion. I mean, he was showing the utmost animation and energy and leadership. Like, I think he did a LFG, let's frickin' go, which just made me like, dude, that dude is like the Tom Brady we know. Like, energetic, emotional, just great leader, all about it. And also, he's reading the plays, he's playing better. He is, in my opinion, like, I don't think he's our answer. I don't think he's the future. But, like, if we have to give him a full season, if we're basically saying we don't know how good we're going to be, which is kind of why I just want to see him in a full season, because I just want to see what the kid's made of. Like, I want to get him a better O-line, like a half-decent O-line, a couple weapons, and just kind of be like, hey, let's see what you got. Because at this point, I don't know. I feel not great, but I feel good that he could be a quality quarterback. I mean, like I said, worst comes to worst, he's going to be a very nice backup for the New England Patriots if we do get a franchise guy. So that's kind of my thoughts on New England currently, but we'll see. Obviously, this is not over because I want to talk about the Steelers. This is probably the most fraudulent team for and you can call the Cowboys fraudulent, you can call the Vikings fraudulent from last year, you can call a lot of teams fraudulent. This is the most consistently fraudulent team in the NFL. I respect Mike Tomlin, but I'll put it to you this way. If you switch the defenses, Mike Tomlin is not coaching as well. I am being dead honest. Do you know why Mike Tomlin said that TJ Watt is the best defense player in the world? Because he needs TJ Watt. If he doesn't have TJ Watt, the defense is not as good. Alex Highsmith looks really good. I've said this in all honesty. There are 3 All-Pro defensive players on the Steelers. If you remove all 3, that defense is nothing. If you remove TJ Watt, that defense is not as good. And in my opinion, I hate people that praise Mike Tomlin. It's like, oh, Mike Tomlin is the good old coach. He's so good. Can we just stop? Can we just stop about Mike Tomlin? And I said this too, this ticks me off. Stop throwing stones at Bill Belichick like, oh, he's past his prime. Look at Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin, because of his leadership and all of this, and I've said before, and I mean this in the nicest way, and absolutely truth, I always have loved what he's done for African-American head coaches. He's always vouched for them. I have loved his voice, and that he picked up Brian Flores. I was rooting and so happy that Mike Tomlin picked up Brian Flores, because that dude was my guy who got fired for wanting to win. I hated that. I absolutely love that Mike Tomlin. I love him as a leader. I love him as a person. He seems like a really good dude. And it's nothing personal against him. He's a good leader. He's trying to speak up, and he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And I know I'm kind of rambling on because I really don't want to say this, but he's the most overrated head coach over the last 10 years. Because everyone says, oh, Belichick needed Brady. What do you think Mike Tomlin needed? Mike Tomlin, without a prime Big Ben, has been nothing. He has sucked with Mason Rudolph. His best coaching year was 2019. Ever since then, he's been downhill. Your defense has carried you. That's just the dead-end truth. Your defense has carried you. Not your scheming. Your players. TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick. All 3 of those guys have carried your defense. And now you got Alex Highsmith. Your defense has been literally carrying you. And now when they need you, and that is not going to get you to where you need to go. Because quite frankly, what are you doing? You spent a first-round pick on a running back. Bill Belichick won't do that. He did it one time, and yeah, Sony Michel did win the Super Bowl. Say whatever you want. That's great. But dead honest, Bill Belichick will not do that anymore. He found Ramondre in the 2nd round. You wasted a first on Najee Harris, who is probably going to be gone soon. You wasted a first on Devin Bush, which, again, aren't you supposed to be the defensive guru? Say whatever you want. Bill Belichick is at least developing Kyle Duggar. He's at least developing players like Gonzalez was looking really good in the season. What have you done? Genuinely asking, what have you done? TJ Watt, well, you developed him? No, you didn't. Minka Fitzpatrick, Miami didn't know how to use him. Congratulations. You know how to keep him at one position and make him good. Cameron Hayward's been there for a long time. He's the veteran. How long does he want to keep doing this? And you are just an overrated head coach. The only reason you don't get as much flack as Bill Belichick is because you're not the GM. Bill Belichick's the GM. That's the whole issue. Mike Tomlin has been carried by Big Ben, TJ Watt, and Minka Fitzpatrick because I said he did have a very good coaching year in 2019. Ever since then, he's been carried by a very good defense and playmakers. And I'll be dead honest, don't be surprised if Deontay Johnson and George Pickens are both moved this offseason. And then Pittsburgh drafts another wide receiver with some attitude. But again, you have Pat Freiermuth. That's the one thing I'll give you like pros with. You at least have a tight end. I don't think you have a running back. Like, yeah, Jalen might be good, but you're not going to use him because you're going to try and make Najee work. You're going to force him to work. And I have to ask, how long is your defense and how long are you going to be okay with these problems? Because Minka Fitzpatrick is coming out and talking about problems. There are so many problems. If you need to get rid of Deontay Johnson, get rid of him. Trade him. Get something. Because he just doesn't seem happy anymore. He doesn't seem like he wants to be there. But guess what? It's not just one guy. Pickens doesn't want to be there. And your quarterback, like, again, people have criticized Deshaun Watson. Why was Deshaun Watson not with his team? I'll put it to you this way. There's a non-rapist who also could have been with his team who doesn't. There was a report that he was going to be getting benched for Mitch Trubisky, which also didn't work out. So I've got to ask, and I'm going to be honest, is Mike Tomlin your guy? Like, Mike Tomlin, I think, needs to be canned because I think you need to reboot. Look at what New England's doing. They're tanking. You want to go on about other teams? How about Dallas? Dallas sucked for a year. They got Michael Parsons and they're back in the mix. What about Philadelphia? They sucked for a year. Then they got to the playoffs and slowly crept up and built. You have not suffered. You did not have one bad season. You were mediocre. Because Tomlin can't have a losing season. And that is the most overrated stat in the NFL. Because you have several seasons where you got one or two lucky games that put you to the 500 or over the 500 mark. So I do not want to even frickin' hear about how Mike Tomlin doesn't have a losing record. That is the most overrated stat. Anyone who says, well, Mike Tomlin's better than Bill Belichick, that is a lie. Bill Belichick has coached circles around Mike Tomlin. Bill Belichick is a better coach than Mike Tomlin. I do not care. Because guess what? Whatever you want to say, Bill Belichick has had championship defenses. Mike Tomlin has had championship defensive players that have carried him. And it is just bad. I don't know what to say because, again, they don't want to... The way I look at it is Kraft would easily be willing to fire Bill Belichick. I think he would fire Bill Belichick because he does not like Bill Belichick as much as people want to make it out to be. The Rooneys worship Mike Tomlin. They believe he is successful. They believe he is this great, great coach. And as for Tomlin, I just think he needs to go somewhere else. I think Washington would be an interesting spot. I think that's honestly, that's a spot to go. But I'm going to be dead honest. I don't think Tomlin should be a head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers anymore. He's just not there. And the main reason why I'm getting all pissed off at this is TJ Watt. This dude's getting wasted. Like, it is legitimately watching JJ Watt's career again. And it's just sad. Because you're seeing an all-time great defensive player wasted. Day in and day out by, you can say, offense, injuries, coaching, all these. And I don't want to see him traded. And I don't like the Steelers. I want to make that very clear. I do not like the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I would love to see TJ Watt kind of maybe play a season in Wisconsin for the Packers. I would love to see that. But, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, TJ has been one of the most dominant defensive players who has legitimately tried to win games by himself. And it's just depressing to see what they do to him. And kind of, I'm not saying they, like, treat him poorly, but, like, they're not, that team is not a contender. It's been one and done or miss the playoffs. And it's like, nobody wants that. You're mid. You're mediocre at best, but that's kind of my takes right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and that'll be all. Don't forget to stay frosty, my guys. Have a good one.